Hello, my name is Hakon and welcome back to my channel and another little video on the Linn Linstrument, the alternative expressive keyboard controller, or also said alternative to a keyboard controller, because this is a different kind of control surface. Comes in two different sizes, 128 and 200 pads of control. And today I'm going to get some help from the Empress Effects Zoya as well, which is what is creating the sound, and also it's doing some other things, which I will get back to. So the Linstrument is expressive, which means that each of the pads now is, in effect, it is an expression controller or an aftertouch, and it can also control the y-axis, and you can control the pitch bend and do pitch slides as well per pad. And it's particularly the z-axis, the pressure, that is the most expressive dimension on the Linstrument, I think. Recently I did a video where I told some pros and cons about the Linstrument after having used it for 2 years. I'm going to link to that up here if you are interested in having a look at that as well. And one of the shortcomings I mentioned was that you don't have continuous breath or expression control, I should say, on the Linstrument. It is per note played. So for instance, now when I push a note and I push another one, the expression control always starts from scratch. It starts from 0. Which is nice. It still sounds very much like a wind instrument, but sometimes when you play wind instruments, you want to have the breath control, the expression control, to be separate from the note control. So you can play slurs and ties and things like that. You can play notes, proper legato, true legato playing, where just the notes flow together. You take one breath and you change notes as you play. Now, this is something that isn't directly possible to do on an instrument, but there is a roundabout way of making it work, and that is what I'm going to show you today, because now I've got a keyboard split, and the left side is now controlling the expression and the right side is controlling the pitch value and the pitch bend. When I don't use the left side, the expression is controlled by the right side. And that is the principle that I'm going to show you today, and I'm going to show you how to do that on the Zoya specifically. Right, so how does this work? Well, first of all, we need a keyboard split. So it could be either on the left side or the right side. You leave one column of split, which is used for your expression. In the per split settings, you want the z-axis to be the same for both channels and for both left and right split, and you also want the left and right split to be on two different channels. In this case, I've got channel 3 for the right split and channel 4 for the left split. I just happened to get onto those when I was doing this. It's arbitrary, really. As long as there are no MIDI conflicts with other things, that is fine. Okay, so how does this work on the Zoya? I'm going to show you how that works now. I'm going to switch on the bypass, so we don't play by putting this on top of the Linstrument. For each of the two channels that I've got coming into the Zoya now from the Linstrument, I've got a MIDI note input module. Now I'm only using the actual note value from the right side, but it is possible to use the note values from the left side here to do different things depending on which of these pads you push. That's quite an interesting thing, I think. And the MIDI note input module also has a gate as well. So it has a gate output. When you push a pad on that channel, you will get a gate signal going into the Zoya as well. And I've also, for each of the sides, I've got the MIDI CC input of the expression, the Z-axis expression control that I've set up on my Linstrument. Now, in order for me to select which side is the active one when it comes to the expression, I'm using an in switch on the Zoya, and the way an in switch works is that you can have any number of inputs, and based on the value in the channel selector pad on the Zoya, only one of those inputs will be directed to the output and sent further into the patch. So I've got the left side expression going into channel number 2 and the right side expression going into channel number 1 on the switch, and the switch is activated, or the channel selector is triggered by the gate input from the left side. So when there is a gate coming from the left split, it sends out a value of 1 into the switch channel selector, and it selects channel 2 of the switch, which is the expression value from the left side. When I release that, the switch goes back to channel 1 and it will pass through the expression value on the right side. And that expression value is sent to a filter cutoff frequency at a connection strength of about 62%, and it's also sent 100% to the VCA. Now, normally in a synth, you would control the VCA with the gate by triggering an ADSR envelope with the gate signal. But when you're thinking breath control, instead of ADSR, it is the breath or expression control that is a kind of manual ADSR envelope. In a more complex patch, you could also have something else affecting the sound at the start of a sound when it is first triggered, and you could also have something else happen at the release that affects the sound. And you can use, of course, the gates and different programming on the Zoya to do that as well. So there's lots of options for that. But this is just a really basic one. In fact, it is so basic that the sound here is just a plain sawtooth oscillator that is gets its pitch value from the pitch input and pitch bend input from this side, and it sends its output into the VCA, which is, as we already said, controlled purely by the output of the switch. So that is either the pressure from the right side or the left side, not both at the same time. And the output from the VCA goes into the filter, which is also controlled by the pressure from the left or the right side at a lower connection strength. The output of the VCA is sent into a plate reverb, which is sent into the audio output. Very, very simple. And that is actually the whole patch. And that's the principle of it. The principle is you need a keyboard split on the Linstrument, 2 different channels, and then you, in whatever MIDI mapping tool you have, whether it's the Zoya or some kind of software, you take the pressure data from one side and the pitch data from the other side. You can also work with the other expression dimensions of the Y dimension on the Linstrument, which I hardly ever use because it is actually quite hard to control accurately. So I don't use it much. And that is the principle of it. So you just need some means of translating or collating 2 different channels and parts of the signal from 2 different channels into one, and then you can have a controller, a Linstrument controller that works both the normal way with per pad control, or like that, with one part of the split controlling the expression. Right, so that's what I wanted to show you today, and I hope you found that interesting or useful. If you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe, join me on Patreon, buy me a coffee, etc. You may notice at the moment that my channel is not monetized, which means that every bit helps. I'll get back to why it's not monetized in a future video. And And also, if this inspired you to buy a Linnstrument or a Zoya or anything else to do with music, then consider also please buying it from Thomann in Germany and buying it via my affiliate link, which you will find in the description. If you do, it will not cost you anything extra, but I will make a little finder's fee, I guess. That's one way you can also support my channel. And also, I'm always very grateful when somebody buys my music on Bandcamp or they buy a piece of art on Fine Art America as well, if you want to support my creative work, which comes in all kinds of different styles, you might say, not just music. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So goodbye for now.